Gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a story with you guys. Now, it's a true story of something that happened to a friend of mine last week while he was over in Ukraine. And unfortunately, he was out on a date and he got restaurant scammed. I know. The reason that I'm telling you guys this story is because it gives quite a good insight as to what actually unfolded while he was out on this date with this lovely lady and her translator. So I'm hoping by telling you guys this, it's going to help some guys that are over there. But the other thing is too, is I'm also going to be able to show you guys the actual bill from the restaurant, and you can see exactly what the restaurant did in order to complete their part of the scam. So check it out and see what you guys think. Okay guys, so just a quick note, if you are new to my channel and you don't know what my videos are about, they're about my journey that I went on into Ukraine to see if this whole finding your love of your life over there was a legitimate thing. And what I discovered, the whole place is just full of scams and there are a lot of deep, dark secrets. So my channel was dedicated to that and trying to show guys what's going on over there so you can be successful. And you can be successful, so please just believe me on that. But if you want to know more, just please subscribe to my channel and then you'll see all the videos as I put them out. So back to the story of the restaurant scam and my friend. So he went over there last week. Prior to going over there, he was communicating with a lady through one of these large websites that we've all seen with thousands and thousands of women on them. So he's communicating to one of those ladies. Now, it's important to remember, if you haven't seen it in my other videos, I'll quickly say it again now, but I'll put a link down below about how these agencies work with other agencies underneath them. So these large agencies, they are just basically a website where these smaller little agencies plug into, like this. There's hundreds of them, thousands of them. So it's important to remember that. So when he's writing this letter, it's going through this big website and it's going down into one of these small ones for the lady to read the letter. Now, as we know, it's all bullshit and she's not reading it. Well, very unlikely she's reading the letter. It's just going through to the agency owner or the translator, who's just going to write back and keep him on the loop. So he goes over there, he meets her, he goes out on a date with her. So in this date, there is himself, obviously, and there is the date, obviously, but there's also the translator as well. Now, more than likely, this translator is the owner of one of these small agencies, because it may not be 100%, but there's a good chance that it is, because that's how these small agencies will make some money, right? So they're going to get paid a translating fee from the big agency, which my friend has paid to set up this date, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So he decides where they're going to go on the first date, because this has been arranged. This meeting has been arranged by this big agency, right? So he gets to decide where they're going to go. So he says he wants to go to, I think it was called Kobe in Odessa. He goes there, amazing time they have together. The three of them are eating meals and everything's great. There's nothing wrong at all. It's perfect, right? My friend even sees the translator take a photo of the receipt, of the bill, which the large agencies now require a lot of the translators to do this. This proves that the restaurant didn't rip them off, the translator didn't rip them off, the small agency didn't rip them off, and the date didn't rip them off. So they can take that back to the large agency at the top. And kudos for that. I think it's an amazing idea, and pretty much every agency should be doing it. So after dinner, they decide that they want to go out for some tea. So my friend knows of a tea place, but the date doesn't want to go to this tea place, right? She wants to go to another tea place. In fact, she says that she doesn't want to go there because that one is too smoky. So my friend says, well, why not? Everything's going good. So they go to another tea place, which he told me was even more smoky than what the other one was probably most likely going to be. So they go out there and they have some tea and some cheesecake. And then the bill comes. And the bill is large. But he said that he didn't really sort of click onto it too much. It was around about 2,000 grivna, which is a lot for cheesecake and tea. But he didn't think too much of it, and he had a good time, and he felt like there was some good energy between them, and he wanted to see her again, right? So the next day, he organises another date directly with her. He doesn't go through the main website, because why would you? I mean, you have to pay like a fee for this and a fee for that, and if they're getting on so well, just exchange numbers and move to the next stage, right? That's normal. That's what I would do. That's probably what you would do as well. So because she needs a translator, of course, the same translator is going to come along. As I've mentioned it before, this translator could very likely be the owner of the agency. Like these little small agencies don't have staff. They don't have systems in place. They don't even have websites. So she comes along as well with his date. Now, this is where the restaurant scam starts. So she says to him, the date says to him, I want to take you to my favourite restaurant. And he's like, yeah, for sure. Like, I'd love to see, what you want to, where you would normally go and have dinner and what's your favourite food and all sort of stuff. So, where do they go? I'm going to put a link below to my 5 scam restaurants in Odessa. So they end up going to a restaurant called Selfie. So remember that name, okay? Remember it. It's a huge scam place. It's actually well known for translators taking dates there. I've actually been taken there before. It was one of my first ever dates. And I noticed when I was in there was other guys from the tour were in there. Being so naive back then, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, what a coincidence. What a small world, right? So the translators know that this is the place to take a couple to get the kickbacks. So we all know about the restaurant kickbacks. It's basically where they ramp the bill up, the restaurant's in on it, they give money back to the ladies, to the date or to the translator. So he's in there and she starts ordering food, right? And he's like, yeah, whatever, like he's got no reason to suspect it, right? She starts ordering food. And food starts coming out, and it's not an exorbitant amount of food at all. It's just like some sushi, some soup, some water, some Coca-Cola, I think. And everything is fine. Everything is great. They have a good time together. So one thing he noticed is that she never took a photo of the bill, and he made a facial expression like, wow, this is a lot of money for this food here. But the translator didn't say anything about it. And he thought, well, that's a little bit odd. As soon as he paid in cash, all of the money, the ladies got up and they went to the bathroom one at a time and then came back. So that was the end of the date. But lucky for him, he actually kept the receipt, or the bill that he got from the restaurant. So he's actually forwarded that to me, and I've had a look at it and translated it, and you can see exactly what actually happened here. And one thing to point out too is that when they went to that tea place after the first date, the same thing happened as well. When he paid the bill, the ladies got up and left. So if you guys have seen my restaurant scam video, you know that at the end of the meal, once the money is paid, the ladies get paid. So there's different ways that they can get paid depending if it's just a date or whether the translator is there as well. But watch that one anyway, I'll put a link down below. So all of this has all the signs of a restaurant scam. She chose the restaurant, she was insistent on going here. The translator's come along as well and hasn't really given a shit about what the bill is about. And the bill was exorbitant, and they've left afterwards to go and pick up a little bit of pay on the side. So you're probably thinking, well, how much was the bill? How much was it? Well, here's a copy of the bill here. So if you look down this receipt here, this is the actual receipt that I've got from my friend here. And there's a few things on here that kind of don't make sense at all. And if you haven't already spotted it, I'll tell you in a second. So basically what it says is the first 2 lines say water. Okay, so first line of water says $4, the second one says $11. Now, that seems a bit expensive for water, but maybe the water came from, I don't know, some Antarctic iceberg that was billions of years old and they had to go and fetch it or something. The next one basically says Coke, but that one looks okay. The next one says salad and shrimps and avocado. And the price for that was $14, which does sound like on the high side, but hey, let's give Selfie the benefit of the doubt here. Seafood is expensive, so we're just going to put that one aside. Now, I'm just going to skip this one for a second, and we're going to go have a look at the other one. So there's Thai soup. Thai soup, there was 2 of them, and they were $28, almost $29 is what it works out to be for 2. So, yeah, that's close to $15 each for a soup. I think that is probably double what it should be. But hey, let's just say it's the best Thai soup that there is. Now, and the next one is fresh pineapple juice, is what it says. And 2 of those cost my friend $25. So of course that's too much money. Pineapple does seem to be expensive for some reason, but not that expensive. So he's paying like $12, $13 for a glass of juice. The next one is apple juice, which is about $8 for the apple juice. The next one is coffee, which is about $1.50, $1.70, something like that. And then they conveniently put on there $20 to $23 worth of tips, which he obviously had nothing to do with, and I don't think that they actually deserve it. Let's just go back up to the sushi. So that's the one that you can see there that he's got 13 of. And it's at 3,475 hryvnia. Now, if you look really, really closely at this, you may not see it straight away, but the thing that I picked up on, and I was just looking at this on my phone, is that everything was justified to the left except for this number, which is justified to the right. If you zoom in really close on it, the 3's actually hand-drawn. So that, and this is the part that makes no sense. So they're trying to say that he had 13 rolls of sushi, basically, and that cost 3,475 hryvnia. But that makes no sense either, because 13 times 475 is not that price. It is 6,175. So that doesn't even make sense anyway. So then if you look at it, if you scribbled that 3 off and then scribbled the next 3 off, it says 475 and the next one says 475. And it would look more like one lot of 475 is 475. But even if you add up everything, with or without that, it's still, nothing can add up to what is at the bottom, the actual price that he's actually paid. Even I've tried adding them up and leaving one off and timesing it by 2 and then minusing that, nothing adds up to it. It's a complete and utter made up receipt. So, I don't know, it's not like that they have a system where they just sort of times things by this. I mean, they've tried to make it look like he's had 13, and I went back to him and I said, did you have 13? No, he didn't have 13, he had like 4. So yeah, but that's the receipt anyway. So there's something just to look at to make sure nobody is drawing numbers on the actual receipt to change it. So what was the total bill in the end? It was around about $240. Now, to give you an idea of what I would spend on a fancy dinner, like with bottles of wine in a nice restaurant with real fancy 2-3 course meals. I think the most I've ever spent maybe like $140, something like that, and that's all out fancy. So for $240 for just this, it's clearly a scam. So the thing that I was trying to figure out is who's actually in on this scam, right? Is it the large agency at the top? Is it the small agency down here? Is it the translator? Or is it the lady? So he emailed the large agency at the top and he said, what's the story basically? Like, I've gone to this restaurant, I've had to pay this amount of money. It sort of seems like this restaurant scam that I've heard of before. So he was hoping to get something back. Like he told me he wasn't looking for money or anything like that. He really, really liked this lady. But now it's like, it's blurred. The lines are blurred as to whether she likes him or not. And that's the hardest thing about these scams, is that she might like you, but someone's pulling the strings and making these scammers go to work, or the restaurants are in it, and it just ruins the whole thing. Like, he's basically wasted his time hanging out with her. So the response that he got back from this large agency at the top was, we're very sorry that you faced such a situation. The lady, has her name, is really interested in you, and as we know, you are still communicating and planning your next meeting. Maybe, the lady was in that cafe before and she wanted to show you the place that she likes. Now, if anybody has ever been to Selfie, it's nothing. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing. It's just another restaurant that sells all types of food and sushi, like any other place. There's nothing good or awesome about it. It's a nothing restaurant. And it says here, she just didn't know this cafe has a bad reputation. Well, even if she didn't know, the agency certainly would know, because everybody knows in the industry that you can get kickbacks there. So it's a big, disappointment from the big agency. Also, if the place of meeting makes you feel uncomfortable, or you think the prices are too high, you have a full right to leave that place. You know how upset I get when I see that? It's like they know that a guy on a date trying to impress a lady that he likes is not going to go, this is too expensive, let's get out of here, let's go somewhere cheap. They know that. The translator knows that. The restaurant knows that. Everybody knows that. That's how they get you. The thing is with this, I asked my friend, I said, did you look at the bill at the menu before you ordered? And he said no. And so he just assumed that what she was ordering was going to be fine. If it's a little bit expensive, it's okay, but maybe not 4 times more expensive. So then we had a look at the translator, and we thought, well, most likely she's the owner of the agency, right? So the date is in the agency. So there's no way that this translator could be in on it and the date is not in on it as well. So the translator and the date are in on it as well. They have to be in on it because they were not interested in when he was paying the bill. They are definitely in on it 100%. Otherwise, where's this extra money going? Is it going to go to the restaurant? Well, the restaurant's not going to know that he's a candidate to be scammed unless someone's in there saying, this dude here, you can get him, charge him more, whatever. So they have to be in on it, and the restaurant is in on it as well. And the fact that they sort of left together to go and get their pay, which I don't know for sure. I mean, I'm just guessing, of course, but that's how it works anyway. So he did end up writing to the lady and saying, like, you know, what gives? And she's written back and saying, no, I didn't know that this they would overcharge you. I didn't know any of these things. I'm sorry. I'm a good girl. I'm so sorry. And he doesn't know what to believe, right? And this is the problem. This is the problem when these agencies get the ladies to do the scams. They ruin it for the ladies. And I know firsthand because if you've ever seen my journey through another company, I actually met like a lady, and she was scamming me. She was a pro dater, but I didn't know about it until I started to get through going through some of these dates. And then I sort of started to figure it out. But I did ask her, and she's like, no, I would never do these things or these. But it turns out that she was a pro dater. But I don't know. I think she really did like me, and I really did like her. But the way that she became a pro dater is that when she joined the agency, and I've heard this from people that know her on my last trip there, they told me all about it. She went to an agency to find real love, to find someone she could settle down with. But what happened is the agency said, look, take this guy out on a date because we want him as a client. Take him out on a date so he can pay us some money. She didn't want to do it because he was old, he was overweight, she wasn't interested. But she said, do it, and the restaurant's going to give you a bit of a kickback. So she says, okay. Once she has done it once, that's it. She'll do it again and again and again. And she probably is looking for someone special. In fact, I know that she is. But the fact that she's now using this as a way to make money, how could you ever be with somebody like that? As soon as you leave the country, she's out on dates. It's her job. She's a professional dater. So it sucks that these agencies do this to these to the ladies that are over there, just so they can make money, and then they give some money. Like, it's wrong. It's wrong. Anyway, that's my rant on that anyway. So when he went back and he spoke to the translator and was like, you know, what gives? Like, what's going on? The translator said this to him. This is the thing that really infuriated me. I think if I hadn't heard this, I probably would have just put this in the box of, yeah, it's just another story of a guy getting scammed. There's nothing you can do. But what the translator said was that it was basically his fault. The reason that nothing can be done about this is because when he went on the second date and he booked the translator, because the translator was booked on the first date through this large agency, basically that translator said to him, well, nothing that this agency can do, nothing she can do, because you didn't go through the big agency for the second date. You just went straight to her, like she, you know, straight to the date. And why wouldn't you? Why would you go through this when it's like right in front of you when you're having dinner the first time, right? So that was like basically the agency's get out of jail free card. And it makes sense, right? Because on the first date, the very first date, that translator took a photo of the receipt to show the agency to make sure that nobody was getting ripped off. On the second one, didn't go through there. This translator, she's got full reign. She can do whatever she wants, and she's not going to get in trouble from this big agency. So you have to look at it and go, well, who's in the wrong? Like, he can't be in the wrong, right? Sure, maybe he could have picked up on a few things if he knew a little bit more, but he's gone to an agency. He has used the translator that the agency uses. So she should be legit, right? Whether she's working under them for that day for 1 hour or working the next day for 1 hour, she should be legit, right? The thing that also really, really pissed me off is that the response that came back from this large agency was nothing along the lines of what you would expect, right? What you would expect is something like, I'm sorry that this has happened, and we're going to be investigating into this smaller agency to see if they're just there to scam guys. Now, something that's interesting about this agency. So the name of this agency is Ukraine Brides Agency. And I've only heard good things about them. And I believe 100% or 99.9% that they are a legit agency. And they even have on their website a list of like scammers that they've weeded out and scam agencies that they have weeded out. So it shows that they actively do that, right? That shows that. So you would think that they would get rid of this agency and say, look, you're scamming guys, you're a scam agency. Maybe you didn't scam them for that 1 hour because we would have caught you, but you scammed them the next day. So you should be gone. You should be gone, and that's the end of that. But they didn't do that. So That to me is a big wop wop. The guy's paid money, he's a priority. 100% he is a priority, because what happens is he goes and tells someone, he goes and tells another person, and another person. Most guys don't understand the structure of the agencies. There's a big one and a bunch of small ones. And I understand it's impossible. It's really, really hard to keep track of all these small agencies for these large ones. But something has been brought to light, and I believe that something should be done about it. They should say to my friend, well, next time you come, we won't charge you, or something like that. But they really didn't give a shit about him, which really, really sucks. So I'm not saying Ukraine Brides Agency is a scam agency. In fact, I actually know someone who's a good friend of mine who's used them, and I actually rang him after I heard them. I said, what did you think of them? He says, no, they were great. Perfect. No scams, nothing. So it was good for him. But there's always some bad apples. But it would have been nice if this agency sort of gave a shit about my friend, I suppose. But yeah. I guess there are many people to blame this one. It's a real collaboration of like different people that have created this scam. So I've hoped by telling you that scam you can avoid a few of the things. And the things to remember, you always choose the restaurant. Always, always, always. I don't care if she's begging you. If she says, if we're not going to my restaurant, I don't want to go. Then let her go. Forget about it, because it's a scam. It's the number one scam that's over there. And there are pro daters that make a living from this. They don't even go to work. They'll tell you they have a job, but they don't have jobs. So they just do this and they get kickbacks from these restaurants. And even if it was 20% from this one here, $240 bill, I mean, average wage in Ukraine is like $500, $400 in some places. It's not a bad deal, and it is hard to avoid. I mean, I've been caught. I mean, just about every guy that I know who's done this has been caught up in it. So there's going to be guys watching this going, well, that would never happen to me. I would be way more too onto it than to do that. Well, that's what I thought too, and that's what he thought as well, and that's what my other friends have thought as well. But it happens. So you just got to be really, really aware. The number one thing is like you organize where you're going to be going, and if you can, bring your own translator. I know the agencies say, no, you have to take their translator. That's fine. But there's no reason why you can't bring your own assistant. Okay? So there's another video coming out about whether or not you should be using an assistant to be doing this. But if you can take someone with you, you won't get scammed. So there's nothing really that my friend can do. He's pretty disheartened. I'm trying to encourage him again to go, and I'm trying to get some contacts for him and things like that so that he can hopefully be successful. So it's just one of those things. If it does happen to you, you just have to learn from it and then move on. So I really hope that this story helps some of you guys out there. If it's happened to you, put it in the comments, or if you've got any advice that guys can use to not get scammed, then yeah, stick it down there, and maybe we can put another video together with some of the stuff that you guys have had happen to you. But that's the story of my friend and how he got restaurant scammed.